The radio had been dead for 6 hours. At Forward Operating Base Kellerman, nestled in a valley so narrow the mountains looked like they were leaning in to listen, communication was not a luxury. It was the only thing standing between 43 soldiers and the silence that gets people killed. The main satellite uplink had failed at 0347, and by the time anyone noticed, the morning patrol had already rolled out without confirmation that the route was clear. Now they were somewhere between the base and a Taliban checkpoint that intelligence had flagged only hours before, and no one at Kellerman could reach them. Captain James Harrow stood in the command post staring at the dead equipment like he could will it back to life. 2 technicians had already opened the relay box, traced the fault to a fried circuit board, and declared the system down until replacement parts arrived by convoy. That convoy was not expected until the following morning. By then, the patrol would have either made it through or they wouldn't, and Harrow would have spent the longest 12 hours of his life listening to static. That was when Sergeant Diane Yates walked in. She was not supposed to be there. She was not a communications specialist. She had arrived 2 days earlier with a supply convoy and was waiting for transport to her actual posting 300 miles north. She was 31, lean and quiet, with calloused hands and a way of moving through spaces without drawing attention. The kind of person a room forgets is in it. But she had heard the techs talking outside. She had heard the word fried, and something in her had shifted, the way a key turns in a lock that no one remembered existed. "I can look at it," she said. Harrow turned slowly. He did not know her name. He did not know her specialty. He saw a sergeant in transit and almost dismissed her with a single glance, but something in her eyes stopped him. It was not confidence exactly. It was something quieter. It was certainty. He nodded once. "Go ahead." The 2 technicians stepped aside without argument. They had already spent 40 minutes and had nothing to show for it. Yates knelt beside the open relay box and did not touch anything for nearly 2 minutes. She simply looked. Her eyes moved across the wiring like someone reading a map of a place she had visited before. Then she reached in, and her hands moved with a precision that made both technicians exchange a glance. She did not replace the board. She bypassed it entirely, rerouting the signal through a secondary pathway that, according to the system's original schematic, did not exist. She had created it herself, splicing 3 cables together with a method so clean it looked factory-sorted. The work took 11 minutes. When she stood up, the radio crackled to life. The room did not cheer. It went silent, the way rooms do when something impossible has just happened and no one knows how to react. Harrow grabbed the receiver and made contact with the patrol. They were holding position half a mile from the checkpoint, waiting for clearance. He gave them a reroute. They took it. 22 minutes later, they radioed back. All 43 soldiers were safe. It was not until the following evening, when the convoy arrived and Yates was preparing to leave, that Harrow learned the rest. A fellow officer pulled him aside and spoke quietly. Yates had spent 4 years at the Naval Electronics Warfare Center before transferring to field operations. She had designed a communications bypass system that the Navy officially adopted and then quietly classified. She had volunteered for 3 consecutive deployments. She had never sought recognition for any of it, and 3 years ago, during a mission in Helmand Province, she had stayed behind to maintain a relay point alone for 11 days, so 2 other units could keep their communication link during a critical operation. No one had asked her to. She had simply done it. Harrow found her near the landing zone, adjusting her pack. He stopped in front of her and, without a word, brought his hand to his forehead in a slow, deliberate salute. Not the kind officers exchange in passing. The kind that means something. Yates looked up, surprised for the first time since she had arrived. She held his gaze for a long moment, then returned the salute with quiet dignity. Behind them, every soldier within sight stopped what they were doing and watched. The command post sergeant, who had seen Harrow salute generals without that same weight, simply shook his head. Some people do not need the world to know their name. They just need the radio to work.